Hi, it's Christina with the Sisyphean Journal, and today I'm going to review some stories from the Be Not Afraid original website. Now, the Be Not Afraid website is support for women who decide to have their babies after they've been given an unfavorable prenatal diagnosis. And if you follow the link to the companion piece, the Be Not Afraid website has changed a bit, so these stories are on the Internet Archive, but I think it's really important. People think that abortion for prenatal diagnosis is just this ultra compassionate thing, but I think these stories might give you a different perspective. So Jamie said, immediately after giving us the diagnosis, the doctor had proceeded to tell us there was a room upstairs to start an induction. She never asked me or said, go home, rest, make an informed decision while you are thinking clearly. Being in that kind of mental state, I ended up following her upstairs. For hours, all I could do was sob. Now, fortunately, the doctor's attempts to abort Jamie's child was unsuccessful. Jamie went home, continued her pregnancy, and cherished the time she was able to have with her baby, who did die, but she got to spend all of that time with her baby. Then there's Lori's story. I called the genetics counseling office the day before the appointment to ask directions and ask what they would do for our baby. They promptly told me they could arrange for the abortion right away. I said I was not going to have one. 2 hospitals that we called would not see us due to her condition being fatal, one of which told us that the baby's brain had more wrong than just hydrocephalus. They also refused to deliver because she was too complicated. One last stop and last hope would not deliver because she was going to die anyway. One doctor said she'll be nothing but a burden, a heartache, and a sorrow. We told the hospital staff that we were going to deliver her. To help them see things my way, I said, when I go into labor, I'll show up unannounced to the ER. Then you'll have a real mess on your hands. One or both of us die, you'll get sued and end up on the news. Try me. This got the hospital to agree to deliver Lori's baby. And their baby, who they named Donna Joy, was not doomed, as the doctors predicted. She does have health problems, but she is a joy to her family. Then Sarah tells her story. The doctor who did the diagnosis told us our best option was to terminate. He said we were young, we could start over and forget this ever happened. We were devastated. I cried all the way home. When I arrived home, I called my doctor and told her what happened, and she said, we don't see people like you here. So I called around to different doctors, and no one wanted to see me. The doctors who would see me suggested we terminate, and when we refused, they suddenly didn't have any openings. We finally got an appointment at University of Michigan Hospital with Dr. Van de Ven. He suggested we terminate, but when we refused, he said, then we will do everything to help him get the help he needs. It was such a relief to finally find someone to help this child. And though Sarah's baby had some problems, he turned out to be a bubbly, happy little boy. Then Michelle's story. That night we were told that our baby had multiple defects. Most of the doctors we saw were telling us we should go for a late-term abortion. They told us that with the heart defects, the baby would never sustain life. They told us she would most likely be stillborn. They said that she would probably never take a breath, and if she did, she would be a shell of a baby. They quickly passed us on to a new set of doctors because they felt that the risks were too high for them to continue to see me through my pregnancy. They were against carrying to term. Michelle insisted on carrying her baby, and though the baby has health problems, again, the child was a joy to her family. Joanne tells her story. We left that appointment feeling so lost and needing so many answers. We got second and third opinions, met with geneticists, obstetricians, radiologists, neonatologists, etc. Everyone told us the same thing: terminate the pregnancy. We told my doctor that we would not terminate the pregnancy, and he insisted that I speak to a counselor. He gave me a phone number, which I called. I called the number and began to tell my story to a counselor named Patty. I had no idea that Patty was a counselor for an abortion clinic. After hearing my story, she explained to me that because I was already 21 weeks pregnant, I had to make an appointment quickly. I only had up to 24 weeks to terminate. We switched doctors because my original doctor was uncomfortable with my continuing the pregnancy. He felt it was too risky and would not deliver the baby. The hospital I was going to deliver at felt the same way. So at 5 months pregnant, I began searching for a new doctor and a new hospital. We were amazed at how difficult a task this was. Some doctors agreed to deliver the baby, but it was quite obvious by their comments and attitude that they felt we were wasting their time. After much searching and many consultations, we were lucky to find doctors who fully respected our beliefs and our desire to have this baby. And again, Joanne and her family did have the baby, who lived a short time, and they were able to cherish that time. Christine's story. The attending physician called us into her office and explained that from the sonogram, it looked very likely that we had a trisomy 18 baby. She suggested that we get an immediate amnio so we could make our decision. One thing my husband and I kept repeating was that termination was not an option for us. The medical staff didn't understand us. The attending physician sent us to the genetic counselor that was affiliated with the hospital. Things went from bad to worse. The counselor emphasized how horrible and fatal this condition was. We told her that termination was not an option for us. We got the response, "Are you doing this for religious reasons?" They did not know what to do with a couple who decided to continue a pregnancy like this in spite of the diagnosis. I asked her if she had any support for me. She said she would get back to me and give me the name of someone who had a child like this. I am still waiting. She said there was a lot of support if we terminated. She offered us nothing to continue with this pregnancy. I was shocked. The doctors and medical people at the big hospital didn't get us. My baby and I were under attack. Their goal was to have us terminate before 24 weeks. They did not give us an ounce of hope or support. We scheduled an amnio for the next day, but then we canceled it. I never went back. The thought of going back there was like going into hell. She asked if we wanted to see a priest. She sent us to a priest out east from where we were. Aha, I thought a priest will tell us what we were doing is good. All the medical people acted like we were crazy to keep our baby. My husband and I went to see this priest. Boy, were we in for a shock. He sat us down and basically told us how hard it would be to continue a pregnancy like ours. You know you are going to get bigger and bigger each day, Chris. It's going to be very hard to do this. He also said that these babies are very sick. There would be a lot of suffering. I couldn't believe my ears. I was expecting the priest to give us encouragement, support, and resources on how to do this. Instead, he told us we should pray for a miscarriage, and he told me how to bury my baby. We left his office without any resources, alone and helpless. My OB was much different. We finally saw him a few days after the ultrasound. I did not want to be pressured anymore. My OB respected my decision to continue the pregnancy and said that he would support us. In order to do all this, I needed support. I did not get any resources from the medical community, nor did I get it from the church. Instead, soon after the diagnosis, I contacted a group called Sisters of Life. They connected me to a group in Canada called Morning Light Ministry. I got spiritual and practical guidance from Morning Light Ministry to carry Grace to term. I had to hunt for and research these groups on my own. I really would have appreciated getting this either from the genetics counselor or from the priests I talked to in the first days. And Christine had her baby and had 2 months to spend with her precious daughter. Stephanie. This woman began to explain all the blood testing that was done and explained the defects they believed they found to be wrong with our baby. After about an hour of explanation, she asked us what plans we had for this baby. I was a little confused on what she meant about plans, so I asked her. She told me that she recommended we terminate the pregnancy, and before we knew it, I could be pregnant again with a healthy baby. She even went so far as to get the appointment book out to schedule the appointment. She left me no other alternative. The cardiologist said she could not see his heart very well, so she would not tell us definitely that he was going to be okay. And she also said there was a hole in his heart that should close, and she could not tell us for sure if it would. We left the office knowing absolutely nothing more than when we went in. However, before leaving, we were again offered information on the process of abortion. And Stephanie's baby did have medical problems, but nowhere near as grave as the medical professionals kept telling her to expect. And we have Nancy's story. I went back July 7th, and the specialist told me there were a number of things she saw wrong. She said that the baby had severe chromosomal abnormalities incompatible with life, and that we should go to California immediately and abort the baby. She even offered to go before the Arizona Medical Board to get permission for a late-term abortion. I was 26 weeks, but strongly urged us to terminate as soon as possible. I went home devastated, in shock, and went on the internet to research the problem she had found. We returned for another checkup a week later to let her know what we were going to do, and we told her about what we had found. She said, "You aren't looking at the big picture." She said I was letting myself in for more pain and that I should not wait any longer to have the abortion. She would not even talk about the alternative things we had found and pressured us to take care of the problem immediately. Well, a week later, she called us with FISH results, F-I-S-H, it's a test, preliminary to the embryo. She let us know that it was worse than she thought and that she had never seen results like this before. She said she would go before the board immediately to get permission for the abortion. Nancy stood firm and later delivered a premature but otherwise perfectly healthy baby. When these abortion activists bring up these fetal indications abortions, that's a smokescreen. They want late abortion on demand throughout the pregnancy. They want to prop up women with prenatal diagnoses as human shields that they can hide behind. But these women are being pressured into unwanted abortions, and that's absolutely inexcusable.